So what they did in the study was they gave subjects word fragments that could be completed in a number of different ways. So here's one example of a word fragment used in the study, blank, blank, CE. What are some possible ways that you could complete the word fragment? What are some words it could be? Could be race. Could be rice.
Mace.
Could be mace. Could be mice. Could be face. Lots of different ways of completing this. One particular way, according to the researchers, and I think it's sort of common sense, would indicate that issues having to do with race are activated in the mind of the subject. Given you have all these different things that are different ways possibly of completing the fragment, if you say race, it's suggestive that issues having to do with race are active in your mind, whereas if you say rice, you're probably hungry. So, one other example. Blank, 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 CK, what could that be?
Smack.
Could be smack. Could be black. Could be trash.
Well, also, if you think about race, it could also be a NASCAR in your mind.
There are lots of different possibilities. Here they're looking for, specifically for black, just like with race in the other example. In this study, they're just asking, you put people in this situation, you give them these instructions, tell them it's diagnostic or intelligence or not, does that lead to issues having to do with race being active in the mind? And to be able to argue that that situation activates the stereotype, it's not definitive evidence, but it certainly would help if you can show that being in that situation does lead certain subjects to be thinking about these race-relevant words. What they found was that the African American subjects were more likely to use race words like race and black to complete the word fragment regardless of condition, but they were especially likely to use those words to complete the word fragments when they were told the test was diagnostic of their intelligence. So there was an overall main effect of race such that African American subjects, regardless of condition, were more likely to have these words active in their minds, but that was especially true in the particular condition when the African American subjects were told that the test was diagnostic of their intelligence. So the fact that it was the most pronounced in that one condition suggests, not again definitive proof, but it's supportive of the idea that in this situation, when you have an intelligence test and you tell people it's diagnostic intelligence, that activates stereotypes. It makes race salient. It puts racial issues on the brain, particularly for the African American subjects, the target of the stereotype. Word fragments were also used in a separate study to look at not whether stereotypes are activated, but instead to look specifically at anxiety, worry, and self-doubt to see if putting African American subjects in a situation where they're told that the test is diagnostic of their intelligence, does that lead to anxiety, worry, and self-doubt? So we've seen a study showing this effect, we've seen a study showing this effect, nothing showing this effect, but again, they did the same basic design. Half the subjects are African American, half the subjects are Caucasian, half the subjects are told the test is diagnostic of their intelligence, half are told that it's not diagnostic of their intelligence, and they're again given word fragments. So let's do a couple more of these. L-O blank blank blank. What are some ways of completing that? Loser.
Loose.
Loser. Loose.
Locks.
Lover. Lots of different options. Loser is the one they're going for here. Is there some indication of anxiety, worry, self-doubt being active in the minds of the subjects? That would be indicated by completing the fragment of loser as opposed to one of the other ones. And then just one final example. What are some types? Could be dumb. What else?
Dumb.
Could be dumb.
Dull.
Dull. Could be dust. So again, here they're looking for dumb as an indicator of worry and self-doubt. But what's important to notice about all of these is that there really are a lot of ways of completing them. So it was certainly not the case that loser and dumb were the ways that everybody completed them. Some people were thinking about ducks, and that's just, you want that kind of variability. Again, they're not without problems, but they are sort of an interesting way of assessing what is sort of most active on the mind of the subject. If being in a situation where a stereotype is activated leads people who are a member of the stereotype group experience anxiety, worry, and self-doubt, then you might reason that they should be especially likely to complete the word fragments with words indicating anxiety, worry, and self-doubt, like loser and dumb, and that's what they say. Under the no stereotype threat condition, so when you're told this test is not diagnostic of your intelligence, African American and Caucasian students were equally likely to use words like loser and dumb. There was no difference at all in the no stereotype activation condition in the likelihood of you completing the word fragments with words that indicate anxiety, worry, and self-doubt. However, in the stereotype threat condition, when the subject is told this test is diagnostic of your intellectual abilities, thereby presumably activating the stereotype, in that condition, African American subjects were 2 times as likely as Caucasian students to use words like dumb and loser in completing the word fragments. So no difference in anxiety and worry words when you're told it's not relevant to your intelligence. Twice as likely for the African American subjects to use the worry words when they're told it is diagnostic. The words are the same. Everything else about the situation is the same. The only thing that varies is whether there's an indicator that stereotypes are relevant. And that seems to have a particular effect on, in this case, the target of the stereotype. Final study I want to tell you about has to do with the very tricky question, and it's tricky because it really has difficult public policy implications. The tricky question of how easy is it to activate these stereotypes? How easy is it to prime stereotypes such that you might get group differences in performance even when there is not a group difference in ability, and of course the group difference in performance is happening because of the stereotypes. So the final study I want to tell you about from this particular line of studies having to do with how easy or hard it is to activate stereotypes in a particular situation. How easy or hard is it to get people to think, okay, stereotypes matter in this situation? So in this study, slightly different design. Again, subjects are half African American, half Caucasian, all Stanford undergraduates. This time, everybody is told specifically that the test is not diagnostic of intelligence. So here, nobody is told, given the stereotype threat instructions, nobody's told this is diagnostic of your intelligence. Instead, everybody is told this test is not diagnostic of your intelligence. The independent variable in the study had to do with whether there was an even more subtle crime having to do with race. If you're randomly assigned to the race crime condition, before starting the questions, and I believe in the study they were again taken from the GRE verbal exam, so they're difficult GRE verbal questions. Before doing that, there's like a cover sheet that you have to fill out, and on that cover sheet you're asked